Good Friday morning, everybody. Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to the Cruise News. Got several different stories for you today. Got some interesting stories that do raise some interesting questions, but today we're going to start off talking about Cunard Cruise Lines. They have officially taken possession of their newest cruise ship, the Queen Anne, which will have her inaugural sailing here on May the 3rd. Now, the Queen Anne was initially commissioned in 2017, so it has been a long road to get here. The pandemic created all kinds of delays, construction issues, supply chain issues, but she is finally here, finally ready to sail with cruise passengers. Now, this is the first new cruise ship that Cunard has had in 14 years, and it is also the first time Cunard has had 4 cruise ships at the same time since 1999. So 25 years since the last time they had 4 cruise ships. So we welcome the Queen Anne to Cunard's fleet. Royal Caribbean's Radiance of the Seas, once again, is having propulsion problems. Now, this is not the first time Radiance has had propulsion problems, and she is an older cruise ship in Royal Caribbean's fleet. And while on a 4-day repositioning cruise from Los Angeles up to Vancouver, Canada, she has had to reduce speed and has resulted in all of her ports being skipped. Was supposed to stop in Astoria, Oregon, stop in Victoria before arriving in Vancouver. Well, due to the speed reduction, she is skipping both of those ports, going straight to Victoria, and actually arrived a day early. The Radiance of the Seas is experiencing a technical issue with one of its propulsion systems, resulting in a slower maximum speed. Unfortunately, this means we're no longer able to make our scheduled calls. We're sorry for the inconvenience caused by this unexpected situation. Our teams are hard at work to correct this issue, and our current progress is meeting our timeline. However, we will need to be docked to complete the required repairs. At this time, we intend to sail as planned on April the 26th, 2024, and we are committed to keeping you informed every step of the way. Now, the April 26th sailing is the beginning of her Alaska season. They say nothing's going to affect the upcoming sailing. Repairs will be done. She will be ready to go. Hopefully, this problem does not persist and affect ongoing cruises. Now, guests currently on board the ship, they were, of course, refunded any excursions that they had booked through the cruise line and also received a 50% refund in the form of onboard credit. Holland America, they are making some changes to the way cruise passengers are going to board the ship in Vancouver, Canada for the upcoming Alaska season. They say there's some logistical problems, some things that they need to iron out, some changes they need to make to help reduce the amount of congestion involved in embarkation day. Now, to do this, they're going to be using what they're calling a progressive passenger check-in system. This is something they're going to be trying out in Vancouver, and what this means is guests are going to be required to board the ship at certain times. Now, for a lot of cruise lines, you pick your boarding time. That's what time you're supposed to arrive to the cruise terminal. That's what time you're going to get on the ship. It's something the guests that are able to select during the check-in process, and while this is similar, it's not really going to be the guest's choice. It's actually going to be based on what deck you're staying on. So for guests on the April 27th sailing of the MS Conning, they are going to be boarding the ship in a staggered manner. Guests staying on decks number 10 and 11, they board at 10:30 in the morning. Guests on decks 8 and 9 board at 11:30. Decks 5 and 6 at 1 p.m. And for those guests on deck 1 and 4, they will be boarding at 2 p.m. Now, Holland America says these times, they're going to be strictly enforced. You are not going to be allowed to go to the cruise terminal. You're not going to be allowed to check in. You're not going to be allowed to board the ship until your scheduled time. We look forward to welcoming you aboard Conning, as there will be multiple ships in Vancouver. All guests will proceed through the shared security screening and U.S. Customs and Border Protection clearance. To ease congestion, we have implemented a progressive cruise check-in schedule. Please do not arrive prior to the times advised below, or you will be turned away and asked to return later. Now, Holland America also did say guests that are staying in the Pinnacle and Neptune suites, Club Orange guests, and 4 and 5 mariners, they will still be allowed to board at their leisure. So it will not affect those particular groups, but everybody else will have to follow the new strict boarding schedule. Now, the question is Is everybody going to like this particular boarding schedule? Sure, it's supposed to help ease congestion. It might make your ability to get on the ship quicker, less standing in line possible. We'll have to see if that's actually what happens. But what if you are one of the guests that's staying on deck 1 or deck 4, and now your boarding time is not till 2 o'clock, but your hotel checkout time is 11 a.m.? You may have a couple hours in there where you just have to wait before you're able to go and board the ship. So, will this make every guest happy? Will this be a popular decision? And will it actually ease congestion in the cruise terminal? All right, so now it's time to put on our conspiracy hats because our next cruise story, I don't know. It kind of, brings up the question, is there more to this than we're aware of? Is there more going on that has come to light as of yet? So just over a month ago, we did a story where passengers disembarked the Norwegian Sky in Tortola. They disappeared from the ship. They failed to return. Security went to their room and all of their personal belongings were gone, which indicated when they got off the ship, they had no intention of returning and they simply disappeared. Local authorities looked for them, but they were never found, and no further information on these individuals has yet to come to light. So here we are again. We have the Norwegian Sky, April the 19th, docked in Tortola, and once again, two male passengers have failed to return to the ship. Now, at this point, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. We don't know if security has gone to their room yet and verified that their personal items were gone. The circumstances of their disappearance, no other information has been released on that. We don't even know if these two passengers knew each other or were traveling together. So these two stories, they could possibly be completely unrelated. But my inner conspiracy theory voice kind of makes me ask the question. I find it odd. Same ship, same cruise port, looking like the same type of circumstances. The Norwegian Sky gets to Tortola, cruise passengers failed to return. Feels like there could be a connection, but at the same time, it could always be a coincidence. But what do you guys think? Do you think these stories are related? Do you think that what's going on with the Norwegian Sky and Tortola and people not returning back to the cruise ship, do you think these stories are related? And finally, Norwegian Cruise Lines. Now, this is a narrative we have heard from Norwegian Cruise Lines a whole lot more recently. Itinerary changes to enhance the cruise experience, itinerary changes to improve fuel efficiency. You hear that almost every single time Norwegian makes an itinerary change. They always have fuel efficiency and they always have to enhance the guest experience. But is that really what it's for? But does it really enhance the guest experience to take time away in cruise ports? Does it enhance the guest experience to cut out a cruise port altogether? And this time, it's going to affect three upcoming sailings for the Norwegian Breakaway: the May 12th, the May 19th, and the May 26th sailings out of Miami. Now, these itinerary changes, they are going to affect all of the port stops. Their first port, Puerto Plata, was supposed to be in port from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m., has now been changed to 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. St. Thomas was supposed to be 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. That has now been changed to 1 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The port stop in Tortola from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., that one has just been removed altogether. No substitute port. At this time, it looks like it's just going to be changed to a sea day. And Great Stirrup Key was supposed to be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Well, that one is actually going to get a little more time, and instead they're going to be there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., a full 12 hours. Now, that comes out to one less hour in Puerto Plata, an hour and a half less in St. Thomas. 8 hours from Tortola just gone altogether. The addition of 4 hours in the Great Stirrup Key still comes out to 6.5 hours less in cruise port. Now, according to Norwegian Cruise Lines, given recent guest feedback, and to accommodate certain circumstances, including but not limited to fuel optimization as part of our commitment to the environment and sustainability efforts, as well as global maritime regulations, we have adjusted the original itinerary. Now, we see the fuel optimization one all of the time. Essentially, it means, hey, if we can go a little bit slower, we save a little bit gas, we make a little bit more money. That's essentially what that translates into. But due to recent guest feedback, that one does bring up the question. I'm curious, what feedback did Norwegian Cruise Lines get from the guests that says, hey, we would like to spend less time in port, we would like to skip port stops that we booked for altogether? What guest feedback makes them think that these itinerary changes are what the guests want? I am curious about that. I'm not saying guests didn't say that, but I'd be curious to know which guest said that. What data do they have that say this is what guests want for them to put in a statement and said, due to recent guest feedback? I'm curious, what is the guest feedback that says, hey, we are spending too much time in cruise ports. We want less time in port. I know there's people out there that like sea days. They love to spend time on board the ship, and I get that. But I don't know too many guests who go, man, we just spend too much time here in St. Thomas. We really should spend less. Now, Norwegian is offering compensation. You get up to $100 per stateroom in onboard credit for these itinerary changes. But with these cruises scheduled to start here in just a couple of weeks, how are guests going to feel about these itinerary changes? How do you feel when you book a cruise? You want to go someplace and you want to visit it and you want the time to spend there, only to have the cruise line come back and go, well, we've shortened your time. We've eliminated that cruise stop. Hey, but it's because of guest feedback. It's so we can enhance your guest experience. I don't know how that enhances the guest experience. You guys are gonna have to let me know about that one. Where I think the real truth is fuel economy. We can go slower. We cannot spend as much money. Honestly, these itinerary changes, at least in my opinion, and I could be completely wrong, are really just about the pocketbook of the cruise line, more so than it is about any guest feedback and to enhance the guest experience. And that's going to be our cruise news video for today. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, do me a favor and smash that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor, hit subscribe. It's free to do so. Helps the channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there is having a really great day and has a really great weekend. And like always, we will see you out on the high seas.